At this hour, I'm Christina Aguayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. 5 members of the Democrat Party in Bridgeport, Connecticut have been criminally charged with more than 150 counts of voter fraud surrounding mail-in ballot schemes. The chief state's attorney's office is prosecuting the criminal cases. According to arrest warrants, the investigation into voter fraud and ballot harvesting in the state may just be getting started, with more charges yet to come. The 5 people who are currently being charged are campaign staffer Margaret Joyce, Bridgeport's Democrat Vice Chair Wanda Greta Pataki, and City Council members Alfredo Castillo, Jazz Marie Melendez, and Maria Peredia. The charges are said to be some of the most far-reaching allegations of election crimes in the state's history. The arrest warrants say that the political camps for Mayor Joe Ganim and his Democrat primary challenger, John Gomes, were caught forging signatures, registering non-citizens to vote, telling people how to vote, changing votes after they were cast, and harvesting dozens of absentee ballots so they could be delivered to drop boxes in the city. They also indicate that more people may be charged in connection with the 92 charges filed against Greta Pataki because of the 9 conspiracy charges she's facing. Authorities say some of the suspects' actions were caught on surveillance footage. Others were exposed after voters informed investigators of some of the methods that were being used to get people to vote a certain way, including promising the voters they would receive housing assistance. The warrants also claim that prominent Bridgeport officials knew about the alleged voter fraud. President Donald Trump received an invite from King Charles for a second state visit. In the letter brought by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, King Charles invited Trump to visit Balmoral, a royal estate and castle in Scotland that was the late Queen Elizabeth II's favorite residence. The letter, captured by photographs and shown partially by Trump to reporters in the Oval Office, says the British monarch remembers with great fondness Trump's visit during his first term.
A letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented. And I think that just symbolises the strength of the relationship between us. So this is a very special letter. I think the last state visit was a tremendous success. His Majesty the King wants to make this even better than that. So this is truly historic, an unprecedented second state visit, and he wants to talk that through with you.
And that says at Windsor. That's
yes.
Really something.
Yes. What I haven't got yet is your answer. I do need to.
The answer is yes.
Chief Justice John Roberts gave President Donald Trump a huge victory after ruling to put a pause on a lower court judge's order to unfreeze foreign aid funding. The ruling comes after the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court for an emergency order to block billions of dollars being released to USAID. District Judge Amir Ali had ordered Trump to release nearly $2 billion in funding within 48 hours' time, something Trump said wasn't feasible. The dispute stems from an executive order issued by President Donald Trump last month instructing agencies to immediately pause monetary aid being sent to foreign countries. This comes as the administration said it's eliminating more than 90% of USAID's foreign aid contracts and $60 billion in overall U.S. assistance, while thousands of USAID employees continue to clear out their workspaces on Friday. DOJ has discovered that USAID was sending billions of dollars to other countries to promote DEI initiatives and was funding groups tied to terrorism, among other things. By default, the request by the Trump administration went to Chief Justice Roberts, who handles emergency appeals arising from the nation's capital. His pause lasts until the High Court decides whether to wipe out Ali's ruling, which Roberts could decide himself or refer to a full court for a vote. During a news conference with President Donald Trump, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that his country is ready to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. During the visit, President Trump and Starmer said ending the war in Ukraine was on the top of the agenda, with Trump making comments on Putin, Zelensky, and the prospects of peace.
We want to work with him, and we will work with him. I think the president and I actually have had a very good relationship. It maybe got a little bit testy because we wanted to have a little bit of what the European nations had. You know, they get their money back by giving money. We don't get the money back. Biden made a deal. He put in $350 billion, and I thought it was a very unfair situation.
It sounds as though one of you completely trusts President Putin and one of you doesn't trust him an inch. Have I got that right? And why do you trust
No,
him?
look, you know, it's trust and verify. Let's call it that. And I think we both can be that way. You have to verify because you never know what's going to happen. I know a lot of people that you would say no chance that they would ever deceive you, and they're the worst people in the world. I know others that you would guarantee they would deceive you, and you know what? They're 100% honorable. So you never know what you're getting. No, I have confidence that if we make a deal, it's going to hold.
A person in their 40s was arrested after police say they found explosives at a Tesla dealership in Colorado. This marking the latest instance in a series of events where people are vandalizing Tesla vehicles and dealerships in opposition to CEO and Doge leader Elon Musk, who is working with the Trump administration to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. Legacy Media has named the suspect as Lucy Grace Nelson. However, a quick investigation identified the suspect as Justin Thomas Nelson. According to a news release from the Loveland Police Department, Nelson is being charged with having explosives or incendiary devices, felony criminal mischief, and criminal attempt to commit felonies. Police say they launched an extensive investigation on January 29th after the dealership was vandalized several times, adding that more incidents happened on February 2nd and February 7th, progressively becoming more severe. In addition, very offensive derogatory messages were left at the dealership. During police surveillance, Nelson was allegedly spotted with additional incendiary devices, along with materials attributed to vandalism. President Donald Trump welcomed Prime Minister Keir Starmer to the White House and praised Brexit, hinting that Britain may be spared tariffs while the EU may not be so lucky. Watch.
And we do have problems with the EU because they've tariffed us. They do it in the form of a VAT tax, which is about 20%, and many other taxes. They sue our companies. They sued Apple, got 16 or 17 billion dollars, which was, I think, totally a ridiculous decision. And they're suing Google for a lot of money. They're suing a lot of other companies, and we don't like the way they're treating our people now. We don't like the way they're treating our companies. They sell us cars. We don't sell them cars. They don't take our cars. They don't take much of our agriculture. And we have a deficit with them of about $350 billion. So I wouldn't say it's been such a great relationship personally, but other people did because it's politically correct to say that it's been good, but it hasn't been good. And we're going to change that, and we are going to have reciprocal tariffs.
2A superstar Travis Hunter says he won't work out at the NFL Scouting Combine. The Heisman Trophy winner might play both quarterback and wide receiver in the NFL next season, after doing the same at Colorado under head coach Deion Sanders. Hunter said during his media availability in Indianapolis that it will be up to the team that drafts him to decide his primary position, but that he hoped he would be allowed to line up on both sides of the ball. Hunter says, quote, "I've been doing this for a long time, so I feel like I can keep doing it." Senator Eric Nesbitt is calling out the Democrat governor of Michigan, who is once again asking residents to pay more in taxes to fix the roads because they don't have the money. Nesbitt taking to X to say Gretchen Whitmer just said we need to find new sources of revenue, parentheses, more taxes, to fix the roads because we don't have enough money. However, we did have $4.5 billion for corporate welfare, $125 million for a Chinese Communist Party-linked battery plant, $1 million for horseback riding in Detroit, $2.9 million for e-bikes, $2 million for a boxing gym, $10 million for a zoo, and $15 million for aerial drone projects. Nesbitt goes on to say, like every other Democrat governor before her, she's pushing for higher taxes in the name of fixing the roads, and once the money is in her hand, she's going to spend it on everything but. Whitmer campaigned on fixing the roads when running for office and has dubbed her new plan My Road Ahead plan, in which she plans on raising $1.6 billion in additional revenue by taxing trucking companies, saying they should, quote, pay their fair share to do business in Michigan, according to local media. Whitmer also wants to spend an additional $1.2 billion for roads, bridges, and transit that she'll get by raising taxes at the pump. Michigan drivers pay 6% sales tax on gas and a 31 cent per gallon fuel tax. Of the $3 billion raised, $1 billion would be used on local roads. Critics say when Whitmer first took office, she proposed a 45-cent gas tax increase to deliver on her 2018 campaign pledge to fix the roads. After lawmakers rebuffed her, the governor moved forward with a $3.5 billion road bonding plan approved in 2020. They said that eventually cost taxpayers $6.5 billion. Whitmer warned in a speech at the Detroit Auto Show last month that Michigan faces a road funding cliff. U.S. Agency for International Development Workers, summonteers, are carting away belongings from a final visit to their now-closed headquarters. The Trump administration's rapid dismantling of the controversial agency is moving into its final stages. The move comes after DOJ discovered billions of dollars being wasted, sent to foreign countries to push DEI initiatives, and even found funding was being funneled to terrorists or organizations linked to terrorist groups. Notices sent out in mass mailings this week are terminating over 90% of USAID's contracts, and the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a judge's order requiring the administration to release billions of dollars in foreign aid. The administration notified most USAID staffers this week that they were on leave or terminated. Attorney General Pam Bondi is launching an investigation after she says the FBI field office in New York allegedly withheld thousands of Epstein documents. Bondi says a source has come forward claiming the field office has thousands of pages of documents, so she decided to take swift action, writing a letter to FBI Director Kash Patel. Bondi is saying, in part, that before Patel was confirmed, she requested the entirety of the Epstein documents, but only received about 200 pages. Saying, quote, "I repeatedly questioned whether this was a full set of documents responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents." She goes on to say, late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, she said, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. When you and I spoke yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn this new information. Bondi demanded all files, audio and video recordings, and anything else related to Epstein to be handed over to her office by today, and directed Kash Patel to launch an immediate investigation into why her initial directive was not followed, giving him 14 days to provide his findings. The first batch of Epstein files was released to a select handful of social media influencers on Thursday. Egypt says negotiations between Israel and the terror group of Hamas on the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire have started in Cairo. Egypt's State Information Service said officials from Israel, Qatar, and the U.S. on Thursday started, quote, intensive discussions on the second phase of the ceasefire. Earlier in the day, an Israeli official had said its military will not withdraw from a strategic corridor in the Gaza Strip. The pullout was part of the ceasefire. However, Israel maintains they must keep a hold on security to make sure civilians are kept safe. Some say the refusal could spark a crisis with the terror group of Hamas and key mediator Egypt at a sensitive moment for the fragile truce. The Israel officials spoke hours after the terror group of Hamas released the bodies of 4 hostages in exchange for more than 600 Palestinian prisoners in the last planned exchange of the ceasefire's first phase, which ends this weekend. President Donald Trump saying tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico will go into effect on March 4th as scheduled, adding that the countries are still not doing enough to stop the flow of drugs into the United States.
I think eventually you're going to see drugs stopping because the country should not be allowing those drugs to come into the United States of America, and we're not going to allow it to happen. So that goes on the 4th of March.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina, Aguayo, Salem News Channel.